Delivering the club, impact, that's what golf is all about. So the best players in the world compress the golf ball. And they do a couple of things when they're doing that that make that physically possible. So the wrists, and the great thing about the K-Coach here is that we're able to train the wrists and then also measure them. And with the smart tiles, we can look at those things. So here, the smart tiles we're going to look at. We're going to look at face angle, and we're also going to look at your ball speed. The other thing we could look at is the way that our wrists move to do that. So as a reference, the more open-faced you are coming into the ball, the less ball speed you're generally going to have. Open-faced path doesn't create such a high ball speed, less smash. Sometimes in the short game that's great, but we want compressed shots, that's not as good. In the full swing, we like to see a little bit more flex in the lead wrist, a little bit more shaft lean, a little more dynamic, less dynamic loft, so that we can compress the ball. Sometimes with a shallower attack angles. But what we're going to do is work a little bit on the wrist angles here, and we're really going to try and sort of get that ball speed up, work on the lead wrist being a little bit more flexed, a little bit more ulnared, so that we get the club face squaring up, so that now we can really smash and squish that ball. If we want a higher, softer shot, we might add a little bit more extension in there. But we're really going to focus here on getting the compression there and the ball speed. So we're going to start with these smart tiles. So here we go. Brian's going to hit one for us. So he's really going to want you to have the feel. Go to the top and then come into impact. A little bit more bowing in the lead wrist coming down or flexing. And the club's coming out a little bit more ulnar too. We want some of that ulnar with the flex so that we can have that shallower angle of attack that's going to get the smash up a little bit and get that ball speed up. So Brian, let's see how we do with that, starting that right of that noodle for that nice compressed draw feel. All right, so at impact, we've got some extension. We've got the radial, so the club's out. And now, obviously, we've got a decent amount of ball speed here. And we've got the club face just slightly open, but not excessively open. So what we're going to do here is we're going to change one of these smart tiles. We're going to change this smart tile here from club face to attack angle. And then we're going to look at that. So we'll go to the attack angle. And the goal here is to try and get that shallow attack angle and get a little bit more wrist flexion so that we can really de-loft that club, get the dynamic loft down, and really get the ball speed up. So Brian, we're going to do that one more time. Really want you to exaggerate that feel. So as the club's coming down, really try and get that, really turn that down. A lot of people talk about, hey, getting their knuckles down, like opposite of a motorcycle throttle, but really trying to get your knuckles down so you take the loft off and you get that strong club face. Then you add a rotary pivot and you can really smash that ball and compress it. Let's try that one more time. So you're trying to do that, but don't try and feel like you're hitting way down. You want to feel like it's relatively shallow as you're doing that, and that's why we pulled up that attack angle. So let's see what we can do. Really lean that shaft, shallow attack angle. All right, so there, ball speed about the same, attack angle a little steeper, so we've got the wrist where we want it, but let's just really exaggerate that a little bit more. Really try and feel like you're trying to keep this wrist really flexed as you come through. And don't be scared to rotate your pivot. If you just kind of drive at it, you're going to get a little bit steep. We really want that rotation with that shaft leaning forward. So really try and feel like you're driving that lead wrist down, but you're trying to make sure you don't smash down on it. There we go. Combining that pivot rotation, but using that lead wrist flexion. All right, so here we go. Now, got the lead wrist flexion and the ulnar, but we got the attack angle shallower, and we got the ball speed up. And now that's what we're looking for. So that ball came out a lot flatter and a lot more consistent. Now, if we want to try and develop really strong ball striking, we need to try and learn how to really compress that spin loft. Try and get that number down so that we can de-loft the club. Best players in the world are turning their 6-iron probably more into a 4-iron because they're de-lofting it. Now, obviously, there's some other variables in there. Got to have enough speed to get that ball up. But for the club golfer, whilst it's not essential, the sensation of trying to work more towards this is useful because most club golfers are the complete opposite. Now, when we get to the best players, we may actually want to have them have less of this and feel like the wrist angles are coming out, because the reality is as they're coming into impact, the wrist's working towards extension. We know from 3D capture it's not truly flexed, it's just less towards flex than it was. It's actually working towards extension, and that's really important, especially if you're playing the PGA Tour or a golf course where you've got to hit the ball really, really high. But it is important, especially for our club golfers, to be able to practice these feels. And when we get into some distance wedges next, you're going to understand that that low launch, high spin is really produced with the lower dynamic loft, which we're going to look at through the smart tiles and really being able to compress that ball. So if you want your downswing wrist conditions to really try and get that club face squaring up, shallow angle of attack, you're trying to make sure you get a little bit more lead wrist flex so you can feel that squish. Brian's launch came down, but with a shallow angle of attack, and we got that ball speed up. And you do that with a driver, it's magnified, your smash goes up, get that really high smash, now you get that high launch, low spin, and you're actually going to kill the ball. So that's the downswing delivery, working with the smart tiles to improve it.